And Senate Majority Leader John Thune joins us now. That will be a big part of the conversation tonight when the president gives his speech. There's the tariffs on the autos, and then there's also the ones for farmers. President Trump truthed yesterday to the great farmers of the United States. Get ready to start making a lot of agricultural product to be sold inside of the United States. Tariffs will go on external product on April 2nd. Have fun. I know you're from South Dakota. This is a big topic. How do you see it?
Right. Well, so being from South Dakota and agriculture being our #1 industry, obviously I see the tariff issue through a slightly different lens, Dana. But I think what the president's trying to achieve here, particularly with Canada and Mexico, is shutting down the fentanyl traffic. And if you look at the way fentanyl has impacted this country, we've lost almost twice as many people per year from fentanyl as we lost in the entire Vietnam War. I mean, this is a crisis, and the president's trying to address it. I think that the tariffs are, in my view, a means to an end, not the end itself. And hopefully it's something that it can be temporary in nature. But there is clearly, on his part at least, an attempt to use these in a targeted way to achieve and accomplish something that I think a lot of the Americans expect him to address.
China announced today that they would then put tariffs on American exports, mostly agricultural products. Then would the Congress be willing to make those farmers whole if they lose market share?
Well, that's what happened the last time this was done. And, obviously China retaliates in the area they think they can do the most economic harm to the country, and typically that's agriculture. And agriculture is an industry in which there's a fairly inelastic. If you look at supply and demand, you can buy a bushel of soybeans from Brazil just as easily as you can from the United States, and if the United States is tariffed coming in. So, these are all effects, I think, macroeconomic effects, in the case of individual farmers, microeconomic effects that you have to consider when you make moves like this. But like I said, I think with China, again, these are reciprocal tariffs designed to achieve a certain outcome, and we'll see where it goes and what the president decides to do long term. But I obviously am somebody who views this with an eye toward ensuring that we're protecting our farmers and ranchers.
And then, of course, there's the price at the grocery store. But we will talk about that as we move forward. Women's sports. Yesterday, you held a vote trying to protect it. Let me just show this. This is a New York Times poll on whether trans female athletes should be allowed to compete in women's sports. Should not be allowed, 79%. You hold this vote last night, and it doesn't pass. Why?
Well, because we didn't get a single Democrat. It got 51 votes on the floor of the Senate. It got every Republican who was there and voting. And I think what it tells you is the Democrats haven't gotten the message from the last election. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I said this on the floor last night. I had a finance professor in graduate business school who used to say there are some things that are just intuitively obvious. It is intuitively obvious to the American people that biological boys shouldn't be playing girls' sports, and that's why it's an 80% issue. And so the Democrats I don't know why they seem invested in defending this narrow issue, an issue that is clearly out of step with the American people, and frankly, from every perspective, just wrong.
Bob Casey, the former senator from Pennsylvania, I would argue one of the reasons that he struggled to beat Dave McCormick and he ultimately lost is because of this issue. And Dave McCormick had a very strong ad. Of course, Trump had a very strong ad protecting girls and women's sports. John Ossoff of Georgia is a senator. He's up for re-election in 2026. Is this an issue that you guys will try to pound?
Sure. I mean, I think this is an issue that every Democrat is going to have to defend. And you mentioned the impact that it had in Pennsylvania. The president moved forward with an executive order. This bill last night, it was Senator Tuberville's bill. Coach Tuberville's bill was designed to codify that, to make it permanent. And but either way, the Democrats are out of step with the American people. And just as importantly, I mean, this is just wrong. Title IX was designed to give women an opportunity to compete, get college scholarships, all those things. This completely steps on that in a way that undermines girls' sports.
I joked in the commercial break that you should have a test vote to eliminate Title IX. Because if they're not going to defend it, why do we even have it? Let me also ask you this. Yesterday, we had Mike Waltz on the show, the president's national security advisor, and I said, is it possible that President Trump will announce a surprise tonight that he has signed a deal with Zelensky? I've been waved off that a little bit because they might be too far apart. But do you think a deal will get done sooner than later?
I do, and I think that unfortunately Zelensky, when he came in last week, had a very defiant mood and not conducive to getting a deal done. But everybody realizes there's a deal out there. And we know there's a good deal out there. Eventually, I think it gets signed. And I think what it demonstrates with the administration is that this is an administration that is going to govern in its the policy is going to be peace through strength. I mean, we're going to accomplish our objectives when it comes to foreign policy.
Do you agree with taking away the foreign aid for them for right now?
Well, I think it's paused. That doesn't mean it's stopped, but obviously it certainly gets their attention. And I think we want them to succeed there. Russia is aligned with North Korea and China and Iran and all the unholy alliance that's going on out there. And so it's important from national security interests of the United States that we have a successful outcome there, which ultimately is a peaceful solution. And I think they're getting closer. They're homing in on it. Okay. And I hope their efforts.
I still hold out that there might be a surprise.
Well, and there could be. I hope you're right.
We will see you in the chamber tonight. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Dana.